Hello, this is Dude Get In. My name is Pig,
My name's Paralurks.
and today, Para, for this month, I initially wanted to have you watch a single movie called The Toxic Avenger. However,
Indeed.
there was no way we could stretch that conversation out to like an hour and a half or so. So
Yeah, I questioned your decision-making process on that one when we watched it.
I have revised my recommendation, which you wouldn't know if you saw the last if you listened to the last podcast. I fixed that in editing,
Mm.
and I decided to add on two extra Troma movies,
Yes,
being
you, go ahead.
Class of Nukem High and Tromeo and Juliet. Now,
Yes, now,
yeah, go ahead.
uh, well, I was going to say that, I appreciate the addition because I think we're get a better podcast out of it, but Pig, I will reveal that you did kind of break our very loosely established rules with this recommend. This was
I
initially
did.
a podcast about here's something that I've experienced before and I enjoy. Let me share this experience with you, my friend, for the first time. And two-thirds of this was fresh watch for both of us.
That is true. There are my altering of the recommendation. Probably I don't alter it again. Was less on like the movies themselves and just the vibe of Troma.
Yeah, I can see that because the first two movies had a very consistent quality and tone and vibe overall. And then we got to the third one, which will give us quite a bit to talk about, really. But go on, Mr. Host. Lead us through this.
So back when I was a teenager, a very edgy teenager, 16, 17, 18, whatever age I was at the time. It was really early into me getting into film and filmmaking. I was watching James Rolfe as Monster Madness videos, and what one of his episodes caught my like attention really well, being on the Toxic Avenger, and that just sent me down the rabbit hole of not only trauma but other like off color, like not very much non mainstream movies.
Look how weird and messed up we can make this movie. Did you expect that? We ran over that dude's head.
Now, speaking of Toxic Avenger, let's go ahead and just jump right into that movie.
Yes, I guess I'll make clear for the listeners the oh wait, you listened to the movies before, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, I did.
Okay, just making sure. But yeah, Toxic Avenger. That is of all the movies I've ever seen, Pig, that was one of them. It's it has a classic superhero story structure, which is interesting for the fact that it predates what we now think of when we think of superhero movies, because superhero movies didn't mostly start getting good, especially on the Marvel side of things, until the 2000s with the X-Men trilogy and the Raimi trilogy of Spider-Man. Those
And
really kicked
Blade
off like
and Blade in the
yeah, yeah.
very late '90s.
Yeah, it was really Sony and Fox spearheading the hey, we can make superhero movies that are consistently pretty good and entertaining. Holy shit. Because before that it was like the Superman movies were around and they were a little corny, but that was kind of the vibe of Superman anyway. So it fit. And the Batman movies, well, they varied in quality because initially, oh man, we got Batman 89 and but then we shifted directors over to like Joel Schumacher.
Yeah, like
But
those
this
Batman
this
movies had a
predates
very
all that.
yeah those Batman movies have had a very like obvious tonal shift as they went on.
Oh
They
yeah, they did. But this predates most of what we think of when we think of like the typical superhero movie structure, and that's how it sets itself up. You have nerdy kid with problems. You have the popular, more in shape, doing all the parties, teenagers and everyone around them. Nobody cares about this kid. Big accident transforms into this super strong thing. Blah blah blah. You've heard it all before, but the point isn't. Like, he does do hero things and help people and is a consistently good dude. But that's not the point of this movie at all. The point of this movie is we're not really that great at a whole lot in particular. But man, do we have a special effects team that knows their shit.
Oh yeah, like there, the part where the hero's name is the Toxic Avenger. In later movies, he's referred to as Toxie.
Toxie.
There's a scene where Toxie rips a guy's arm off, and it looks really good.
Oh yeah, there's really good, like, well-made special effects in this, and that is absolutely the highlight of both of the first two movies that we watched. It's these guys do not know how to make like that compelling of a character. They know how to make a scene look good enough. They're good enough at lighting and shot construction. Their actors are earning a paycheck. But man, some of these effects though, really good, really enjoyable. They had a lot of fun with it, and you could tell that they were aware that they were going to come short in some places, so when they were writing it, they were just trying to have as much fun as they can, making themselves laugh as much as the audience. That's that is very much the vibe that I got from Toxic Avenger, because it's just, what if we made these people so over the top evil that it swings all the way back around to being like entertaining in an almost endearing way? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The execution is very flawed. But I'm glad that they did it for the sake of them getting to flex their look what we can do though. Look what Yeah, that guy's head turned into a watermelon and you can tell, but it still was fun to witness. That guy's arm getting ripped off. This dude getting stabbed with that thing. The way our nerds, I forget what his real name is, but
Uh,
Toxie, the way his body transforms in the bath.
his name was Melvin, which is like
Melvin.
is a class A nerd name. No one is named
Yeah,
Melvin these days. Why would you name someone Melvin?
I'm not sure how many people back then were even named Melvin. It feels like a name that only exists to be mocked.
Putting it towards the Melvin actor, like you don't like that is not like a movie nerd where like oh you take off his glasses then he looks like normal and or slash handsome. Like this guy doesn't even have
No, no.
glasses. He just looks like a loser and a dweeb.
Yeah, it's to the point where you can tell that's not the same actor after the transformation.
No, no, the next the actor after he transforms is like a foot taller, and
And
like
has an inconsistent ADR voice.
yeah, yeah, like okay. So when he first transforms, we don't hear him talk at first. We just hear like ADR like as like dark.
It's almost suburban Sasquatch levels of oh. If you for the listeners who aren't aware, Pig, please insert the Sasquatch noise here.
Oh, I will. It's gonna be all over this.
Okay. Toxie grunts are the only noise you hear from him for like a good 10 or 15 minutes after the transformation, to the point you're not sure if he can still talk at all.
But after his
And then
first
suddenly got the clearest voice in the world out of nowhere.
a very a very deep and like booming voice coming out of him now instead of the like the typical dweeb voice.
It's odd. It's inconsistent in tone because you could tell it's either a different guy sometimes or a different recording day with a different mic setup. Because some takes just do not sound like the same guy talking, but it probably was, and they just messed with their mic settings somehow in a way that sounded a bit different. And the funny thing is that sometimes you still hear like the growls and grumblings while he's talking. So it's unclear if that's meant to be like a Darth Vaderism where the breathing's always happening, or if it's just an audio mistake because these guys are only really good at one thing and just competent at the rest and can still make mistakes.
Well, one thing I would like to give like special credence to is the fight scene at the Mexican restaurant that has katanas on the wall.
Right. Why did it have katanas? I mean, I know the reason is so we could use a katana in the fight, but why does the Mexican restaurant have katanas?
I think that's just a real restaurant, and they just had them there. Like it could have been like a former like Japanese sushi restaurant that got converted into a Mexican restaurant after the owner swapped.
Yeah, and they're just like, you know what? These look cool. We'll just leave them on the wall.
Like that scene is like is unlike any scene prior and unlike any scene after. Like the
I
choreography.
still wouldn't describe it as a good fight scene, but it is the highest effort we see put forth into making a compelling fight scene, and that's noteworthy in itself.
I would disagree with you there. I think it's a great scene.
I mean, to each their own. It was definitely much more enjoyable than any other fight. Well, there's only so many direct fights in the movie, because half the time it's either a single physical exchange where someone dies instantly, or it's a chase. There's
Or
like, what, 3 fights, maybe 4 in the whole thing?
there's his first fight against the cigar facing gang where he saves the police officer.
Uh-huh.
There the fight scene at the restaurant where he saves the blind girl who becomes the love interest. And
Yeah.
there's a montage of other fight scenes where he's fighting a bunch of goons that come out of one limousine.
Right, he's given some of them the people's elbow, others he's just they most of the fights are either in the montage at least, the fights are kind of a hijinks sort of vibe and not a real fight scene for a lot of it. Uh it does try to have a real fight scene again after the initial transformation and in this restaurant. But of all these, like clearly the most effort was put into the restaurant fight, where they try to use the environment. They have multiple people step up and have their little moment of here's what I do. Can you counter this? Like they put in the effort, and you can tell, and it is higher quality than the rest.
The bit where the guy gets his arm ripped off, there's a close up to like where like the blood is splaying out of his like out of the where the arm used to be, and I think there's like a higher frame rate camera there.
Huh?
Like
I
just
hadn't noticed
the
that.
way the blood is spurting out, the way his screams don't exactly line up to like his like mouth opening and all that.
Hmm.
Like they had a higher frame rate there for some reason, and it looks good. The,
Pick the standout moment for me in that whole thing was just the shot of the dog sliding across the floor.
yeah. These fucking
How?
okay. Okay, first of all, like these three guys, which who are dressed
Mhm.
completely different from each other. There's no cohesion between them. They're here to rob this restaurant. They shoot some guy. They threaten a baby. The guy with the clown makeup on points a shotgun at a baby.
Yeah, it is. It's very out the edge of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole vibe, but not taking itself seriously. The like, look at me, aren't we having fun? Kind of edgy and very try hard, but in a still kind of fun way. So it's very much, look how fucked up the thing I'm gonna do is. We're pointing the shotgun at this baby. Hey, blind lady, you're helpless. Bend over for me.
I'm gonna shoot your dog, and it's gonna slide across the floor really fast.
That it was one of the funniest things in the whole movie is just the dog slide. Uh, and now it may sound like we're a little all over the place describing this movie and its scenes, but honestly, individual highlights is probably what most of the discussion of the first movie is going to be because the plot really doesn't have a lot going on.
It's very
N-
simple.
Nerd gets transformed. He starts doing things where he beats up bad people, saves blind lady at restaurant, and immediately they're an item together. Eventually, the mayor wants to get rid of him because the mayor is also bad.
The mayor
Manhunt
is
ensues. Mayor winds up dying because he is the big dumb fat evil.
he is the fat evil. He is the fattest, most evil man ever.
It is very much the intention of over the top and comical evil. It is very reminiscent of. He is a less interesting and less funny version of a character that you're going to meet in Disco Elysium. For those who don't know, Pig started playing Disco Elysium.
Yeah.
I'm putting this on the podcast so that he can't forget about it and not play Disco Elysium.
Oh yeah, we're starting a Disco Elysium playthrough, which we'll start uploading very soon.
Yes. If not uploaded already, just, we got to get a backlog of footage first.
Mm-hmm.
But anywho, he is the comically fat evil in multiple movies. He is the mayor of the town where all the events happen. That is the toxic waste dump capital of the world or whatever.
Tromaville,
It's
New Jersey.
yeah, it's just a setting and character constructed for the purpose of what over the top dumb shit can we make happen here.
And
And that's really it. The first two movies that we watched are similarly, we're not going to try anything complicated. The plot is an excuse for us to do weird, funny shit.
now, Toxic Avenger kind of went on to like become like Troma's like number one thing. There were three
It's so weird.
sequels that were made: Toxic Avenger 2, 3, and 4 in the late 80s and into the 90s. And there's even
Plus an animated series,
an
right?
animated series called the Toxic Crusaders, which has like 2 seasons. How this
Wow.
became like a show for children, I don't know. It was the 80s. Everyone got a show back then. There's probably a Top Gun show I'm unaware of.
Many, many things got shows and cartoons. It was a different time.
Like if John Wick had come out in the 80s, there'd be a John Wick show.
Dude, I would have owned like several John Wick action figures. Oh, that would have went so
The
hard.
John Wick action figure in the John Wick car
Yeah.
with attachable John Wick's dog.
Attachable John Wick's other dog from later. All right, but back to Toxic Avenger. There's really, I mean, I gave the outline of the plot. There's nothing in particular to go into there, other than any particular characters you like. We have like a couple of standout bullies who are consistent throughout scenes. Blind love interest who's not too bright and blind, but she's hot, so there's that. The fat evil mayor, Melvin's mom. There's really not a whole lot in characters. The there's gag characters. That's what it is. There's a bunch of gag characters that it feels like you were expected to like fall in love with all the bits, and I didn't. So I'm
Yeah.
just like, all right, there's the Nazi guy. There he is.
There's the two gay guys.
There they are.
There,
They exist.
there's the bumbling yet honest cop.
Yep. I almost forgot he existed until you mentioned him just now.
That is like the number one thing that I feel falls flat in this movie. Like if they were to get that right, I think this would be a much stronger film.
What, just all the side bit characters?
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, like when this was still supposed to be a single movie podcast, I had every intention of spending the entire podcast just saying, "Yeah, and this is the first episode of Dude Get Out," because I don't like this movie. Like I've been like somewhat positive in what I've been saying so far, but overall my feelings are like this movie sucks. This is like I could have spent that time on something really cool or interesting, and there were highlight moments. Like I don't just straight regret watching it, but I walked away from it going, "This got sequels? Really?"
It got sequels because it made money.
Yeah, some asses got in some seats to watch people get their heads run over and their arms ripped off.
Sometimes that's all you want.
Yeah, it is.
It,
It's from the era of popcorn movies being just pure, just munch your popcorn and watch this weird cool shit.
if you are a sicko, a creep, I might say, you might enjoy this movie and the rest of Troma's catalog.
Yeah. Is anything else on Toxic Avenger before we move on to movie number 2?
Not on Toxic Avenger specifically. In fact, I'll talk about this once we're done. Actually,
Okay.
Okay, so the next film was Class of Troma High. Came out
I
about
thought it was Nukem High.
Class of Nukem High. You're correct.
Okay.
They go to Troma High, but it's called Nukem High.
It's unclear if this is a consistent timeline, which would make this a prequel, or if it's sort of like an Adult Swim cartoon that just can kill characters and then reset everything to a status quo later.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like
I'd have to watch more movies.
you don't have to worry about it too much. The mayor is in this again, and he dies at the end again, and frankly, a much better and spectacular way. Because in Toxic Avenger, he dies by Toxie just like disemboweling him and just grabbing his guts out. And in this,
Yeah, it's just a straight gut punch and to rip them out.
in this, he explodes.
It was better set up and paid off in this. Like, my feelings are mixed because there's at least a smoothness of narrative in Toxic Avenger. We were halfway through Nukem High and didn't know what the movie was.
I I I would actually say like I knew exactly what the movie was at that point. Because like there's
The
a
halfway point, because I know for the first 20 minutes we were just sitting there thinking, "Are we watching Toxic Avenger again?"
yeah the first like 15 to 20 minutes is kind of like a remake of Toxic Avenger of its first 15 minutes. Toxic waste gets out. A nerdy character drinks it, and he starts to mutate. He flies out a window, which is a very consistent thing in all three of these movies. Someone always jumps out a window.
Yeah, I enjoy that as a consistent bit. It's kind of like with those movies, like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. There's always the joke of jumping over the fence, but then the fence falls over and you just eat shit. I like consistent visual gags like that, so I will give props to the jumping out the window thing. But yeah, in the
After
first
the
15 minutes, it's the same setup, except instead of him becoming a main character, this dude just dies. They
yeah
just wanted to do that.
the nerdy character just dies, and then we meet up with our real protagonist, uh, polite jock character. He wears the Letterman. He's got a nice girlfriend. He's got some slightly off color friends, but they're good people. Now
Kinda.
there are bully characters who it's implied by dialogue that they used to be like part of like the debate club. You know,
No, it's very blatantly said that they were the honor society
yeah, the
several
honor
times.
society. And it's said that seemingly the toxic waste from the power plant that's like basically next door changed them
Yep.
to be like Mad Max villains.
That is absolutely the vibe. Is one of them actually just has like a single shoulder pad Mad Max thing later in the movie, which is pretty fun. Like I liked the smoothness and easily understood narrative of Toxic Avenger more, but there's more characters that actually have more than nothing going on in Nukem High. So in that front, it's a better setup setting because after you get past the first 15 minutes where you're not sure if you're just watching the same setup again, and then it shows you what the movie actually is, you get things figured out. It's not always clear how things are going to link together because a lot of events seem completely unrelated. And some of them are completely unrelated. It's not always the best put together, but it does have more things going on, which is honestly kind of nice because in Toxic Avenger, you're either he's on screen or you're waiting for him to be on screen again. In
And
this, like, there's something going on in every
yeah,
scene, and that's worth something.
there's always something happening. There's always like something moving forward. We got the bullies plot. You got the boyfriend and girlfriend like having sex for the first time plot.
You have the
The power
fat
plant.
evil trying to not get the nuclear waste plant shut down, even though it absolutely should be.
And though the movie takes its time, like getting all this together and like like struggling a bit to actually like get it to converge into one spot. I think the movie does a pretty good job of converging all these subplots into the climax.
It's very clumsy, but once you get to the last quarter of the movie, it works. Up until that point, it doesn't have a clear vehicle of how to get there because, in your typical like 3 act structure, you'd have something in the first act that successfully sets up what the last act is going to do. There's a through line
And
of
they're
you will
technically
see the final villain or or at least like the main threat at some point in the first like 30 minutes of your film in most cases. We were over an hour into this like 90-minute movie before we saw the final threat.
well, technically we do see it within like the first act. It's at a house party where protagonist and his girlfriend. First of all, they smoke some radioactive weed that they were given by their friends.
I just love the sentence. Oh yeah, we smoked that radioactive weed.
Yeah, that like breaks their emotional barriers between each other, so they can finally
Yeah.
have sex for the first time.
Yeah, the inhibitions come down.
The inhibitions come down. They have sex for the first time, and it's that where she actually gets pregnant from that very first time. But given that it's a radiation pregnancy,
It turns into like this 6-inch like fetus tadpole thing that just kind of plops out. And then she looks at it and goes, "Oh!" and runs away screaming, as one does.
yeah. So technically speaking, our final monster villain was set up within the first act.
Yeah, like you see its conception, and you don't realize because it's not for another like 15 minutes or so that it actually plops out into that toilet. Because the movie's instead has you setting, it has you in the imaginations of our main two characters because they start hallucinating the weird what ifs of what if my body mutated because I did the sex on the radioactive weed. And again, the scenes are just more excuses for the special effects team to flex on you. And that's fine. I should point out that our main two characters uh, stand out from the rest of the cast for the fact that they are the only two characters in this school that aren't consistently assholes all the time.
Yeah, their friend group are assholes a little bit here and there. Like they're like perverts to some of the girls. They're like problematic in some places.
But these
And,
two are mostly just good.
mhm. And the bully characters, boy, are they problematic?
Problematic. Yeah, that's the word.
It's not to
We're
the
gonna cancel them on Twitter.
it's not to the extreme of the bully characters from Toxic Avenger, but it gets there. They never reach the heights of those characters, but they reach for it. A very
Yeah, by the end, they're being on that level. But this movie takes itself a bit more seriously in tone, which I enjoy, because the tone seemed to kind of confuse sometimes in Toxic Avenger. But I felt like the over the topness and of the tone and the things that happened, they felt much more like consistent throughout the movie. Nothing ever took me out of it for how weird it was, you know?
Mhm. There is a through line plot, or not plot, but more like theme of like the horrors that like teenagers face, like
Hmm.
peer pressures, teen pregnancy, bullying, all those things, like all those things being expressed like in this very like in the Troma style of like very explicit, very vulgar.
It's See, for me, that just seemed like them going through like the typical tropes of the setups of high school characters in movies.
Like yes, they are tropes, but these
I
are
think that
like
was like
are
intentional theming and not just, them setting up archetypes to play with.
yeah, I think like the tropes are the themes of a story. Just like
Fair.
they're used often, and that makes them tropes, but like that doesn't take away that they are like the themes of a story.
Yeah, that's fair. Uh, and
Uh,
I don't, I didn't feel compelled to look for any depth in these movies. Well, at least the first two. There's stuff there in Tromeo and Juliet, but we'll get there. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely more depth in Nukem High than in Toxica Avenger. But yeah, no, you're right. There is definitely the all the stuff you would think of. There's, or at least most of it. I know that there's, bullying, peer pressure, all that. Did we get like the stress of like having to study for finals or something?
Not too much, no. It was mostly like all the emotional stresses that a teenager faces.
Yeah, that the school itself, like schoolwork and being in class, didn't really seem to matter so much because more focus was put on like the gang getting everybody to pay up for their drugs that they bought or the drugs that I punched you until you agreed to buy. Things like that.
I'd like to skip over to the end of this movie.
All right, yeah, because
Yeah, it
we did mention that final monster too.
like this ending, I really enjoy. It's kind of spectacular.
Yeah, the ending is definitely the highlight. Like the last 20 minutes definitely eclipse the rest of the movie.
So what
Uh,
one? The lead bully has kidnapped the protagonist's girlfriend. They're in the basement. He's got a knife to her neck.
yeah. Two, the due to all the radioactive shit in the town and especially around the school, the fetus tadpole mutant that plopped into the toilet traveled through some pipes and wound up in some more radioactive waste stuff and grew to a monster movie monster.
And because of the radiation, the school the alarm has been rung. The mayor has to come in and like kind of like calm everything down.
Well, that's the cover story. It was really just the gang wanting to hit the alarm to get everyone out so they could fuck with that dude and his girlfriend.
So a protagonist has to go down, save his girlfriend.
Yeah, while the rest of the gang is trashing the school because fuck the school. But this dude goes in and he's getting harassed by the whole gang, right?
Like they're on motorcycles driving through the hallway, and they're driving in a real school.
Yeah, that honestly a lot of that just made me think, man, this one must have been so fun on shooting day. And that's something I appreciate about all of these movies is that even if I don't always like their methods or the storytelling or the setup of a scene or whatever, there's a lot of parts where I'll just think to myself, this must have been so much fucking fun to make.
Like they're speeding through the hallways on motorcycles. They're spray painting the walls. They're breaking glass and everything.
Yeah, they're just knocking shit over just because fuck it, this is cool. It's a fun little rebellious spirit that you can get behind. And our protagonist is having to deal with all of this, and he's overwhelmed, of course. But none of them realize that there's this like 7 foot tall green mutant fetus monster in the school, and they're about to find out.
Oh boy, are they?
Some fools get got.
Yeah, yeah. There is penetration, decapitation, everything.
Let we get one classic. Oh no, the tentacle got me. I'm being dragged away. Help!
And
In fact, that happens a little bit to our main bully after we finally make our way to him. But there is a you get the confrontation scene, right? That a movie like this has to have when there's a hostage. Or okay, We're in the room. I got here. Oh no. There's my girl. You're about to stab her if I do the wrong move or shoot her because one of you has a knife, one of you has a gun, and they're doing the over the top sadistic villain shit. It's like, no, you're gonna stand there and watch me and cut her. No, if here we're gonna take the clothes. Oh no, actually, you know what? Well, I'm gonna hand you the knife, and you're gonna cut her for me, or else you both die. And just when you're thinking, geez, you want to go even more over the top? This is getting really messed up. That's when uh Monster's like, hey, I'm here now. And it turns into, we have to escape. This is such a large school by that point in the scene. Like they are running for like 8 minutes
and
trying to
I
get out of this school
and I think
through a
they're
montage of death.
they're only really using one hallway, or maybe like a second hallway. Just reuse that same hallway, run past it
Yeah,
multiple
like
times.
it seemed like two hallways, maybe two classrooms that they keep using, but shooting at slightly different angles, so maybe you won't notice. It's it's kind of funny just how limited it is, but I enjoyed that because they really did want to have fun with showing each individual. See, this is another thing it has over the Toxic Avenger is that I actually remembered the side characters and their bits in the gang as opposed to 80% of every character in Toxic Avenger is
there's the leader who's like a Mad Max villain.
yeah,
He's like
there's
the
his girlfriend who has the coolest tattoos ever. Or was it makeup? It was makeup.
it
She
was
drew on the
yeah
coolest makeup
yeah
ever.
like the best punk goth makeup ever. There
It was so sick.
there is the transsexual person
Yeah, there's the dude with the boobs. There's the tall guy with the nose ring and the bone.
who's also doing blackface.
Yeah, that was. It was never addressed. He never even like did or said much of anything racist that I'm immediately recalling. He's just I'm gonna make my face dark, and that's it. That's the extent of it. It was weird.
He is like grunting and like bang hitting people with a bone.
He's the most annoying character.
He got decapitated, thankfully. Like I think the scale of what they receive is exactly what they deserve.
Oh yeah, no, these people are monsters. They deserved everything they got.
There's also the other lady, the other girl who's
I'm
like
now thinking back, and I'm going like, oh yeah, he was grunting and hitting people with the bone as if it were a club. Was that more racist than I thought it was in the moment? Was I just being blind to that?
yeah, it's probably very racist actually.
Yeah, that's. Does that does that mean like something's normalized in my brain, or I'm just stupid? I can't tell which.
I think because it wasn't exactly clear what he was going for.
Yeah, I guess.
For one, like no like it wasn't specifically pointed out or anything like that. So kind of it slipped between the cracks of your mind.
It's it's slipped between the cracks of my mind. Well, the important part is I don't like that guy, and I'm glad he's dead.
But yeah, there's the other girl who's like super aggressive and sexual.
Uh, yeah, it's a whole cast, and you wind up actually remembering at least most of them, which is nice. After coming off of a movie with like four memorable characters. But like the finale is like the highlight because after the monster's gone to deal with all the individual thugs in the gang, like there's a bit of space for the protagonists to make their way through towards the science lab, but also our main Mad Max guy who still has a gun and still wants those two dead. So they wind up in the lab in a standoff, gun pointed at our protagonist, and he's doing the monologue. He's doing the villain monologue to have his little downfall. The monster shows up, and while the monster's wreaking the havoc and starting to get at our guy, we did have a setup and payoff for how to defeat them because the mayor has also shown up at this point in the midst of like this attempted escape. The protagonists are like, "No, you don't get it. We gotta get out of here. This is fucked." And he doesn't want to listen. But earlier in the movie, we neglected to mention there's a setup of this big laser that if it's fired at certain chemical compounds or radiation or something, it will explode and likely take a huge chunk of the school with it. And now there's this 7 foot tall weird monster thing that's entirely made of weird radioactive bullshit.
And
Let's fire the laser at it.
Yeah, he's about to kill us. We need to fire the laser at it to save ourselves.
Yes. Luckily, it's a very, very delayed explosion.
Delayed explosion with negative colors.
Yeah, they really like using like the negative filter on a lot of their shots when they want to show something weird, sciencey is happening.
It's effective, I feel.
Yeah, especially for like the clearly limited resources and budget they would have had at the time, and for what the visual technology was, like that's definitely good enough for what they were going for. It worked.
So while our two protagonists make it out of school, our mayor is still inside. The monster has exploded and explodes the entire school.
And the crowd outside, because this was a freshly evacuated school, so a ton of people are just outside, watching the gang break stuff and hearing the alarm of "Don't be in this building." So they've just been outside this whole time. They see these two kids come out, and then the school explode. And they knew, all of them were aware that there were still people inside that school, but none of them care. The entire crowd just starts cheering because, hey, explosion. School's canceled.
The school blew up. We don't gotta go to school. Will college be this cool too?
Oh man, I hope so.
This is a very enjoyable movie, and this has sequels as well.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, Class of Nukem High 2. There in the 2000s there was Return to Nukem High and Return to Nukem High 2.
Huh. I wonder if that's recurring characters or just like a new class of the same age.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. I haven't seen them. This is also, I feel important to mention. These are also incredibly raunchy movies, and there are several scenes that's just, hey, you want to see some boobs?
Here's some boobs.
You want to watch teenagers fuck? Here you go.
Not literally teenagers. All these actors are like in their 20s.
Well, yeah, no,
like
the actors are in their like 20s or whatever, but you know, the actors portraying these high schoolers or whatever. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of scenes of just, and now the hot girl will take her top off. So if you get something out of that being in a movie instead of on the hub or wherever you watch your stuff, you know, there's that appeal to it.
All of these movies are just filled with that. There's a lot of sex, a lot of swear words, a couple of slurs here and there.
It is, and there's some movie because a lot of people, anime is kind of like really popularized the term fan service for things like this, where an entire scene is just an excuse for you to see this one thing you want. And it feels like it wouldn't, like, yeah, it is like heavy-handed for us to look. We put the scene with the boobs in it, haha. But it's in there so much, and it's in line with the tone of it, so to the point where it's kind of part of the identity, and it wouldn't feel as much like a Troma movie if there wasn't multiple scenes of topless ladies having sex or whatever.
Topless ladies and gore.
And gore, yeah. I'd like to draw a comparison point actually to an anime. Have you ever seen High School of the Dead?
I have.
Okay, yeah, because a common sentiment about that show that I've heard a lot of people say, because it's a really excellent show and manga, but it never got finished because the author died. something a lot of people say is like, oh yeah, it's super good, but you know, if you ignore all the fan service, and that's a very stupid take, in my opinion.
The fan service
But
is part of its identity. It wouldn't be
it
High School of the
really
Dead.
is.
It wouldn't be what it is without the fan service.
Because it is over the top, not in a trauma way, but it is all the things that would feel the most intense to like a 17-year-old student who's in for like the most extreme situation of their fucking lives, this zombie apocalypse. All of the things that like are heightened. It is the extreme violence, the extreme gore, the extreme sexuality of it. It's all dialed to 11 very purposefully to create a specific tone. And if you take away any of those elements, it wouldn't be the same thing. Even if you like, it makes you a little uncomfortable to see the big anime titty jiggle or like that much blood pop out of a single person because that's not realistic, whatever. If you take away any of these elements, it detracts from the tone and identity of the product. And Troma, I think, has a similar thing going on.
Definitely, definitely.
But see, these are like these first two that we've discussed. I don't know if you have any more on it, but these are, in my opinion, kind of bad to mid movies. But if you enjoy filmmaking and thinking of the process of how things are made, there's something, to be gained from watching and dissecting these in your head.
Like,
But now we can get to like after you give your final thoughts on it, we'll get to what I think is like a legitimately well-made movie, which I didn't expect here. But did you have anything else on Nukem High and Toxic Avenger first?
like these movies are bad. Like these
Yeah.
are like what you would see on like you would only ever catch these like on TV at like midnight. You'd have to go
Yeah,
to
and
you'd have to go to like a midnight movie showing to see these. If you were like in the
yeah.
past, now you can watch
They
them on
wouldn't even
TV.
make it to MST3K because of the type of content in them.
These are movies for freaks and outsiders and like weirdos.
Yeah, this is what like that one weird kid that you probably don't talk to in like ninth grade, but then if you get to know him a little, you learn he's a movie buff and he's gonna show you one of these movies. That's the tone we're going for, but interestingly enough, with the next one, Romeo and Juliet, uh they had a real ass script with characters and like emotional stakes and the things you would expect in a movie. And it kind of threw me off at first. And this
Tromeo
is the movie. Go
Tromeo
ahead.
and Juliet was screenwritten by someone that I think everyone who would even be listening to this would recognize.
Yeah,
Tromeo and
especially these
Juliet.
days.
Yeah, Tromeo and Juliet was written by James Gunn.
Yes, famed for his work on the Scooby-Doo movies, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and upcoming the Superman movie, which I'm excited to go watch in theaters. I believe next month.
Yes, I believe so. This was James Gunn's first like job in filmmaking. This is where he got started.
Eh,
James Gunn got started in the Freak Pit. Like if he got confused why he got canceled on Twitter that one time, oh, like this is very typical of him. Of course he would say these things. He worked at Troma, and we love
Yeah,
him
because
for
I
that.
look at some of those tweets that people wanted to cancel him for. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is really try hard fucked up humor, but like I get it. There's a time in your life for a lot of dudes when you're like somewhere between 12 and 17 where this is exactly the type of thing where I just want to say something really fucked up and see if I get a reaction out of anyone. And that's just a brand of humor for you. And sometimes it sticks with you for years and years, and sometimes you grow out of it by the time you're 20. James Gunn clearly that he just likes messed up things, and that's fine. I don't see a need to like try to mess with his career over it.
He is an excellent writer informed by this type of humor. So
Yeah,
Romeo and
so
Juliet. It is exactly what it sounds. It is Romeo and Juliet.
but Troma. And it takes, characters and structure from Romeo and Juliet, puts it in a modern day, not in Tromaville, but just in New York, I believe.
There is reference to Tromaville. Tromaville, the two heads of the families were did go to Troma High.
Yeah, they moved from Jersey to New York to make something of themselves, had their falling out, and now these two families hate each other, as is the case in classic Romeo and Juliet. And we get some decent acting talent. We get some solid writing, even if the structure was borrowed from a classic play. It still, like, translating that into a film in a completely different tone still takes some writing chops, and you can tell that Gunn had some sauce, like, from the get-go in his career.
And on the like solid acting, a lot of these actors like this was their first movie. The Troma actor, this was his first movie. The Juliet actress, this was her third movie.
Hmm.
Everyone involved, aside from like the producer Lloyd Kaufman and them, everyone involved is very early in their acting career, acting and movie making career.
It's a lot of, like, um, mostly, like, young adults still around their, like, 20s or maybe early 30s who are, like, getting started and trying to make their, movie making dreams come true. And in some cases pulling it off, in some cases being just kind of eh. But for Romeo and Juliet, like, it actually wound up making a really solid product, and, like, you can see why James Gunn continued to get work after that. It's uh it's weird because I forget the original motivations of Romeo and Juliet for the hatred, but in this it's primarily, well, we had this filmmaking company together, but now it's mine. Fuck you. You get nothing. And that's
That that
the
is
entire thing.
that is all we get early on. More is revealed at the end.
More is revealed, and but, like, the only public knowledge anyone outside of, like, the select handful in the know, all the knowledge they have is, well, they made movies together until they didn't, and now one guy owns everything and the other guy's broke. But they still have, like, these friends and family and all these people who are on their side, and then the rich influential people have a roughly equal amount of people, maybe a few more on their side, and it's just a feud, and the cops are very annoyed at how often they fight. That's pretty much the whole status quo. Tromeo is introduced as a guy who's, like, not even particularly invested in the feud. He's just like, well, yeah, it's just kind of what we do, but, like, I don't know, who cares?
He is very much more interested in like getting a girlfriend, getting laid, all that. There's
He's
a
a romantic, one might say.
there's an extended masturbation scene.
Yeah, there sure is. I forget because it's a back and forth between
Yeah, yeah.
the masturbation, and I believe it's
Juliet
the
and
lesbian
her.
sex scene.
Yeah, Juliet is like she's still, I guess she's a lesbian, but she's like no, I kind of want to do it with men. And her lesbian partner is like I'm a lesbian. I love you, Juliet.
She's always around, and that young lady also lives in the house, so I'm not sure, like, if she's part of the family or if she's just, like, works for them, or, like, what her
It's
status is in relation.
it's never stated and it's never questioned. It's never brought up.
She does, in fact, exist to serve as the fetish bait. Because look, the hot ladies are kissing, and
Look,
now they're naked. Ooh,
ooh,
look at that.
look at our gratuitous sex scene, mirrored with the with Tromeo masturbating furiously.
Yeah, not like only a little bit to, like, the boobs on his computer monitor, but, like, mainly to a girl saying that she loves him. Like, this is the kind of guy you're dealing with. Is he gets off just as much on the idea of romantic mutual love as the actual sex stuff.
So we get
But
to we get to the party scene where they meet for the first time. Tromeo, it's a costume party. Tromeo is dressed as a cow, which will become relevant later.
yeah.
Surprisingly.
Juliet is there with her husband to be. What is it? Arbuckle, I believe his
Arbuckle.
name is,
He is the
and
heir
he's a
to
dweeb.
he is the heir to a meat processing plant.
Great match for a vegetarian.
Mm-hmm. Guys, he is
Uh,
he is so like wiry
he's a
and
goober.
weird. He is
Like
obsessed
his
with
entire
meat.
personality is like he's a dweeb. He makes even if you've never bullied anyone in your life, you're supposed to like see this guy on your screen for 45 seconds and feel the urge to like push him into a locker.
He is like obsessed with meat. He'll come up with like new meat products, like just on the
I'm gonna put
fly.
raisins in the meat. Why would you do that? I'm gonna put raisins in the meat. You want to try it?
No, no, I don't. No, get that away from me.
I'm vegetarian. No, but oh,
Oh, and there's an actual pig carcass in this movie. That's like being like a
yeah, you cameoed in this. I thought it's weird that you never watched this despite being in it, pig.
yeah. I did my job. I signed my NDAs, and I
Yeah.
never looked back. Yeah,
You get
like
paid good for that one?
no, Troma.
No. Oh. I really enjoyed how uh Arbuckle heard for the first time apparently that Juliet was a vegetarian, despite her saying, "Yeah, I've been one for a while." You didn't know? He hears this and immediately grabs the nearest knife to cut himself. And it's like, "Okay, we're fine. You know, let's go to the party." But
I
they
forgot
wind
about
up at
that
the
part.
party. Oh yeah, you didn't remember?
I forgot that he just fucking cuts himself. Like, oh my
Well, like
god.
that's kind of his deal is like when he's not being pathetic in trying to be endearing to someone he likes, he's pathetic in that things don't go his way and he self-harms because after she turns him down for the marriage later, he's stabbing himself in like the chest or shoulder or whatever with the meat hook to hurt more. Then after he's like she finally agreed, but she looks like shit. Oh my god, what is this? What's going on? Because she pulled a Trixie on him and made him think she looks like a mutant or whatever. His reaction, uh, aside the natural just instinct to leave, because she blocks the door, he just hurls himself out of like this third story window.
And there
Which
is our third jump out a window. Defenestration it is called. Our third defenestration.
yeah, but his reaction to things not going his way is to just hurt himself, which is a fun character bit, I guess, for a pathetic goober.
It's very dark, but it's played so hilariously.
It's good. The guy did a good job acting it.
Yeah, everyone here is a fantastic actor.
Yeah, they when they needed to be serious for a minute, they were able to sell it, and that's not something after watching the first two movies that I came to expect. Because like semi-serious is about as much as I would expect from a Troma movie, seeing Toxic Avenger and Nukem High. But then there's like actual like no, we're doing this for real type of shit. There's a death scene where it's just a guy like struggling in his final moments and realizing he's about to die and making his final request. And it's structured in a way where they can like call him gay after as like a slight deflating joke. But even that isn't like a big laughs haha moment. It's kind of just like they put the joke in there to keep their comedic tone, but then they immediately go back to, okay, yeah, no, I'm pissed they killed my friend. Let's go fuck him up. Like this movie does take like the violence and death and romance all somewhat seriously for good chunks of it, and I enjoyed that. I liked seeing the writers write real characters and the actors act when and do that shit. It's very enjoyable. Getting back to our summary, very very much like in the play for Romeo and Juliet, they see each other at a party. Immediately, they're horny and think they're in love. Uh, Romeo steals Juliet for a dance. Gets discovered that he's at the Capulet party. Oh no, got a fucking jet.
Wait, Juliet, you're a Capulet? Oh no!
Ah, damn. And they are like actually quoting Shakespeare lines verbatim through a lot of this movie,
And
which becomes funnier when you see the Shakespeare textbook on Juliet's bed. So I'm like, if Shakespeare exists in this universe still, even though they're playing out Romeo and Juliet, is this just two theater kids quoting their favorite play back and forth and just never acknowledging the fact that they're doing that? Because they're the only two who keep doing these long Romeo Juliet quotes at each other.
I think Juliet's dad does that just a little bit, but he's more self aware of it.
Yeah, I think he's also quoting various things. Is he just quoting Romeo and Juliet?
He might be quoting various things. Like he's quoting thing. He'll quote a thing and then look at the camera and go like, act two, line such and such.
Yeah, he will quote and give you the source of the quote. It's odd, but I like to think it's my headcanon that these are theater kids who are just nerding out with each other while they hook up.
Like they're quoting Romeo and Juliet while being named Tromeo and Juliet and not realizing that they're acting out Romeo and Juliet.
Well, I mean, they end up better off than the real Romeo and Juliet, which,
Kind,
considering the ending, is still weird, but
yeah.
we're getting a little off track because we still have to establish the Capulet dad.
He's like the
'Cause he
most
is a
evil
proper
man.
villain
He is the most evil man ever. Like more so than the fat evil.
because he's not. The villains of our first two movies are comedic, over the top cartoon characters. This is the type of villain who makes you uncomfortable with his evil. 'Cause
He
the
is
character himself is a massive pervert and projects that onto his daughter at every opportunity. So she wakes up with a night terror, and he's like, "You were screaming in pleasure from orgasming, right? You bitch, get in the timeout box." And he puts her in a plexiglass box.
a plexiglass box in the attic that's like soundproof.
Yeah, just like you get to sit in a dark room with a spotlight on you in this plexiglass box and do nothing, handcuffed. And this is just how you exist now until I say you're done.
Like it is like the most horrific abuse that I've like personally seen on film.
And it is for what, like waking up screaming because you had a nightmare. He looks around the room and sees a curling iron, isn't sure what it is because he doesn't care about girly shit and just assumes it's a dildo and gives her more shit about it. It is very well done for the like, no, you will want this guy to die because you will be uncomfortable almost any time he's on screen. He is very well established as like greedy, money hungry, just scumbag. And the entire wedding with Dweeby Arbuckle was set up by him so that his family could become mega rich because of the meat packaging, whatever.
You must
And
marry the heir to the meatpacking plant in order to combine our wealth.
yeah, and Juliet is just used to doing what Daddy says because I go in the box if I don't. So she's just going with it until she actually finds someone she's attracted to, other than, you know, girl who also lives in the house whose relationship is unclear. She's super into Tromeo immediately, just as he is to her, and now she has a reason to give enough of a fuck to start defying her dad for real.
Like the scene right after she gets locked in the box where Tromeo breaks into the house is I think
Yeah,
the best scene in in the entire film.
it's
Like
super well done.
Tromeo climbs into the box and we have like just this great romantic scene.
We even get like an emotional scene with the other girl, who realizes immediately She can't compete here. She saw like the sparkle in Juliet's eyes thinking about him. She knows that she is the silver medal here. She's not going to come first for Juliet ever again. So she just immediately gives up. It's like, yeah, she's in that room upstairs. Be careful. We have a noisy stair over there. Go help her. Be with her. I'm okay with it. Because he thinks he's caught in that moment. But she's like, no, no, no. You're good. Go do it. And when he gets there and frees her, like, it's yeah, we see them both naked and doing the horny teenagers having sex scene, but it's like a proper sex scene that is played as romantic and not just horny. Which again, not what I
That's
expected in a Troma movie.
it's so unique compared to like everything else Troma.
It really is. And that kind of makes it stand out more in that because this movie does also have like the raunchy, it's just here so you can look at the boobs scenes in it. There's a whole like bit for like 3 minutes straight of Tromeo being on the phone with the girl he was with just before Juliet. And he's on the phone with her while she's getting fucked by another dude. And, she's there naked with her tits out the whole time. She's moaning into the phone, trying to play it off. Like, it's a very Troma scene. It's just, a bit better written and directed. But it is very Troma. And then, closer to the middle of the movie, you have this legitimately romantic sex scene in the box. And you're like, wow, I didn't expect that to be so well executed, but like, damn, they did it. It's they do it. They fall asleep in the box together. Like they don't even leave after they're done. They're just content to physically be in the same space, even if it's this shitty box. Uh, but they wake up and have to have a brief conversation about, okay, no, Dad's going to see you if you don't leave now. And he's like, hold up, we gotta be like together now, right?
We gotta get
Yeah, but
married.
I'm engaged, and okay, but if you're already married, then you can't. So just marry me. And they're immediately making the plans for like within the next day or two, we will be married, and then you will be safe from your other marriage.
And-
They
and-
concoct this whole plan. They meet up with the priest who helps him out, and hey, it's like an 80s or 90s movie with fucked up humor and there's a priest character. You can guess the jokes they make. I don't have to tell you.
just don't tell the actor what the joke is, and he'll play
That's my
along.
favorite thing is that they show him dancing with this 12-year-old boy, and I'm just sitting there going, I don't think that kid knows what the joke is, but he's like glad to be in a movie.
Okay, so like in the scene where Romeo's friend is killed by one of the Capulets,
Mhm.
like in the play, we all know this. We've read this in high school. This is not a spoiler.
Yeah.
That whole fight scene like just escalates in such a ludicrous degree.
Yeah, it's really good because it starts off with like, some shit talking, just hey, I gotta talk to Tromeo about my cousin. But these dudes in the same room hate each other, so of course it's not going to go smooth. There's going to be shit talk. Somebody's going to like be physically pushing the other. Tromeo shows up and it starts to calm down because words have to be exchanged right now. But homeboy's got to piss on the guy's leg because haha.
He pisses on his
Fight
leg
breaks
for a
out.
while. How did he not
It
notice?
was a funny amount of time to be pissing on someone's leg. He had to have been down in some water bottles for a minute. But that happens. The friend dies, and we have the emotional death scene that I described earlier. It's shockingly like well done and played straight for a Troma movie, and it immediately goes into this intense like, okay, we are shoving you and throwing you against the wall kind of fight scene. Something that Troma before James Gunn got involved could have done fine. And the guy brings out the knife, and it's like actually pretty decent choreography, well done shots showing everything. Then we have a proper like one-liner finisher of an exchange. Oh, are you ready to die? Well, I guess it always has to happen eventually, sooner or later. And then the guy gets hit by a ladder sticking out the window of a truck going by.
God, that was
His
so good.
arm comes off. He's like, but because it's just his arm, he's not immediately dead. So he's just stuck riding for a while winds up getting decapitated by like a raised ramp of like parked truck, and then it flies onto the hood of another car that winds up crashing because they were freaking out at the head.
Yeah, there's
And then
there's like a
a
family.
really good car stunt thing where they flip a whole car 360 degrees and then it explodes for no reason.
Like there's a family singing like one more peanut or whatever the fuck they're singing. The
Yeah.
head just lands on their hood. The kids start laughing. The parents are horrified. They crash. The car explodes. The kids playing with the severed head. It's oh my god, all this happening.
It's really good. I love it. Like the car flipping and exploding legitimately looked great. I loved it. It was sick.
I think it's like
Uh,
stock footage from some other movie. Because
it might be.
it's a completely different car from the one that the family was in, like different color and everything.
I loved it. And it was just the right amount of absurd for the humor to hit for me, really. I think that was like the action highlight of the whole thing because there's not a ton of violence, but when it's there, it goes pretty hard. But
The,
now that there's been death, like the cops are after Tromeo. The cops are after him, the Capulets are after him, Evil Dad's after him. We can't sweep this under the rug. We can't just keep the feud as it's been, with all us just being petty back and forth forever. We gotta kill motherfuckers now. But also Juliet's still engaged.
we need
So
to get out
we
of this
gotta
engagement.
we gotta really ruin this engagement you're being forced into and then get the fuck out of town.
And so we get like the major alteration to the typical Romeo and Juliet story. Juliet goes and
Yeah.
gets the potion, which
Yeah, but
in the
instead of poison or fake poison or anything, it's turn me into a mutant gremlin thing that no one would want to fuck.
yeah she turns into like a mutated cow monster.
Yeah. Well, sh- like she turns into this, says, yeah, it's a skin condition. I only saw you on good days. That's why I was hot and stuff. But you still love me like this, though, right?" And plays it up. He throws himself out the window after she like pulls up her dress to show that in this weird potion transformation she just like has a massive dick hanging there.
Yeah, I think it's like a real like bull penis.
Like, it was fucked up. Because again, Pig had only seen Toxic Avenger, so neither of us were expecting that. So like we see that scene and I'm just sitting there going, well, I didn't expect to see that today, but or ever. But that happened. That's in my brain now. Which it was funny enough to where like that's fine, but Jesus. I didn't need to see that.
You didn't need to see it. You didn't consent to it, but it's there now.
I did not.
So we get our
Nope.
we get the final confrontation between Juliet and Tromeo against the evil dad. I did. This is a very like extended conflict here.
It is. And also, it's weirdly Juliet focused. Maybe because Tromeo already had his big action scene earlier in the movie, but he kind of gets punked out real quick.
It's about Juliet overcoming her dad.
Yeah, she gained the strength to stab her dad 37 times in the back.
But before that, she gets the clothing iron and burns him in the face.
Yeah, that was also a setup and
Like-
payoff because the first mention of that iron is the lesbian lady walking in the room saying, "Oh, you keep leaving this on, sitting on your dresser, you're gonna burn this house down." You know that, which is why it was already in hot when he walked in the room at the end.
Like and that's even more informed by the dad like just saying like using it as a tool against her.
Yeah, it's well done. Like the setups and payoffs are actually legitimately well crafted in this movie, and I really appreciated that whenever I got to notice one. Yeah, she burns his face, hits him over the head with the Shakespeare book, which is funny because like the three characters who keep quoting shit could be said to be beating you over the head with "It's Romeo and Juliet, get it?" And then he literally gets beat over the head with the book of Shakespeare.
And Tromeo smashes the TV on his head.
after shoving tampons up his nose as a combat technique for some
Uh,
reason.
uh,
But it made for a funny shot. So
Troma branded tampons. I might add.
yeah. So he gets a CRT smashed over his head, which then just becomes his helmet for the rest of the scene.
He
But he
overpowered.
has this crossbow that he fucking He cannot get enough of this crossbow.
Give me my bow. No, not my violin bow. My crossbow. No, not my
No, not the
oboe.
oboe.
My crossbow. That's a good bit.
It's not the strongest in the movie, but I did like it.
Yeah, he overpowers them. He's dragging them both back to the attic, back into the room with the glass box.
Unfortunately, he does not realize that the power cord of his TV head is dangling behind him. So we got to have the comeuppance with his head being in all the electronics as his daughter plugs it in as the final, like, we gotcha of the movie. And then we get to see his face, like, start to melt.
It's a really good.
Again, the special effects team getting to do their thing, because they didn't have as much to work with in this movie as they did with the other two, because radioactive shit just wasn't part of it. So they had to settle themselves on strictly, like, dismemberment and gore for most of the movie until this final act, or when they got one, transform the actress into the hideous freak beast, two, melt this dude's face. They did a pretty solid job.
There's also Juliet's nightmare. The
Oh
I mentioned
yeah,
earlier.
yeah. When she's like
She's dreaming of
pregnant, but it's popcorn, but it's rats and maggots.
yeah, that one too. But there's the one beforehand where she's like dreaming of like just men,
Oh yeah.
about a man in general, and like he
And then he's
pulls,
got a penis monster.
yeah, a gigantic penis monster. Like, oh boy, yeah.
Yeah. And the dude's just like standing there with the penis monster head just like hissing at her, and he's just standing there like, yeah, that's what it is. It's very casual about it.
Like oh yeah, men are scary. They have monsters for penises.
Yeah, am I right?
So at the end of the movie, we get the reveal that we had mentioned way earlier. As it,
Indeed.
as it turns out, Romeo and Juliet are brother and sister.
Yeah, the big reveal was that they were siblings the entire time. They not half siblings. Both of their parents are exactly the same. So this is the replacement of the tragic ending of Romeo and Juliet. Instead of everyone dies because they're all stupid, it's some people die, but our main characters get to live, except it's incest. And instead of doing the sensible thing of realizing, oh, that's messed up, and we're like teenagers and have plenty of time to find other people to love in life, they just say fuck it
Fuck it, we're
and
in
just move
love.
back to Jersey
Get
together.
get in the convertible. We're moving back to Tromaville. We'll have
Yeah,
our
where
new,
they have 3 kids, 2 of which are like horribly disfigured because of the incest.
and their third child, the son. He appears to be normal.
Yeah, he looked fine, but 1 for 3, not terrible.
They probably couldn't they probably weren't allowed to put like prosthetics on the baby.
But yeah, that is Pig's Troma trilogy that he prepared for me. It was like it wound up being worth it in the end for Tromeo and Juliet because that's just a legitimately good movie with a fucked up ending. And I'm like, that ending is only there to be fucked up and make you uncomfortable. But like, it's on brand, so I'm fine with that overall.
Troma has a very clear and it has a very clear brand and identity. And I really like that identity. I like I like that it's off color. I like that it's vulgar. I like that it's like not your usual movie. This is not a movie you show on your first date. This is something you show to someone when you really want to show them, hey, this is what I'm about. This is what I like.
That sounded like that tweet about the guy who drew like the evil Garfield. Just a little glimpse into my twisted world.
This was a very formidable step into like my personal identity with filmmaking.
Yeah,
Like
we're
if you want to get into film, you don't have to like watch and like Citizen Kane. I was actually in a conversation about this earlier.
like you can acknowledge like the notable things that made your industry what it is today without having to be completely in love with everything about those things. Space Invaders is one of the most important games in history as far as like determining what game design is. I don't play Space Invaders, and I'm not gonna go back and play Space Invaders anytime soon because it's just not my kind of game. I certainly recognize what it did.
I think a closer comparison would be Postal, something like Postal or similar games like that.
Mm.
Like these like these things that are like pushing the envelope of what's okay to put in a movie. Well, what's
Hmm.
okay to talk about? What's okay to like express and like be passionate about?
Yep.
Like
Truly, Troma is the Yoko Taro of movies.
like if you want to get into movies, you don't have to go like the classical way of you watch Citizen Kane, you watch Casablanca, you like consider those the best movies. The best movie can be like whatever affects you the most, and if it's something like vulgar and awful like this, that's fine. That's okay. If you want characters in your movies to say the homophobic slurs, that's fine. Probably I should
Yep.
probably rephrase that. That's probably not fine.
No, no, yeah, say it with your chest.
These movies are bold and they are not afraid to show what they are, and that is why I like them.
Yeah, it's a strong sentiment, pig.
Now, Para, before you give your sentiment and give your recommend, I'm going to list off some trauma movies.
Oh,
BC Butcher, Blood
okay.
Junkie,
Hmm.
Cannibal the Musical,
All right.
Death by Temptation, Friend
Huh.
of the World, Hanging Movie,
Friend of the world.
The Human Hibachi, Killer Condom, Lust for
Okay.
Freedom,
Yeah.
Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead. I've seen that. That's horrible. Don't
That's
watch
a,
that.
oh, really? That sounds like it would be a fun one.
It's awful. It's fun and it's awful. Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD.
Uh,
Shakespeare Shitstorm. Surf Nazis Must Die.
uh, okay.
Yeti, A Love Story. But okay, one thing I would like to mention. All throughout Troma and
Yeah.
Juliet, there's a bunch of Troma movie posters. The Toxic Avenger. There's a Kabuki Man in the party. There's a guy dressed as Toxic Avenger. There's a guy dressed as Kabuki Man.
They built a whole universe, a cinematic universe, one could call it.
A very vulgar and nasty cinematic universe.
You see, Mr. Kaufman was actually just a pseudonym. Kevin Feige, you did it again.
Oh my god!
You son of a bitch, you got us.
A nymphoid barbarian in Dinosaur Hell.
That is almost a Japanese light novel series name. Jesus.
Return to Nukem High, aka Volume 2.
Okay, I like that title. I'm sure I would think the movie is mid, but the title is great.
So, Para,
Yeah.
any closing thoughts?
Uh, well, immediately, I think some of those movie titles sound like they'd be on a DVD shelf right next to Space Cop.
They'd be in one of those packs that have like a single DVD with like 50 movies. That's where you'd
Oh
find these.
yeah, man, just like 2 discs, 9 movies.
The
One
Troma
of them
Collection.
might be worth your time.
The Troma Collection.
Oh man, I could absolutely see like the Trauma collection being in the like $6 DVD bin at Walmart in 2009. So, my sentiment on Trauma, I'm gonna say these are not movies made for me. At least not most of them. Romeo and Juliet kind of is. But that's a unique situation in that that's, the start of James Gunn's career, and he's not here for the entirety. James Gunn is not Troma. Troma is Troma. And Troma overall itself, not my thing, but I can respect the obvious passion and creativity and fun that the group put into what they did, even if I thought it kind of sucked, which I did. Romeo and Juliet's great though. That's a If you're fine with seeing some fucked up shit, go watch Romeo and Juliet. Go do it. Just do it.
I would actually like to mention one more thing.
Yeah.
This August, the Toxic
This
Avenger
August.
remake will finally be released.
Yeah. So how many of the original like Troma boys like are involved in this? Any of them?
I imagine it's same amount because like Lloyd Kaufman is dead now,
Ooh.
and this was released in 2023 initially. Actually, no, I was wrong. Lloyd Kaufman's alive.
Okay.
I thought he died. I legitimately thought he died. He's still alive. He's still out there.
It's a happy day for you, pig.
He's still out there. He's still making movies.
Is he still making movies?
As of 2021, he produced Brandon Basham's Slashing, The Final Beginning, and Mercedes. The Muses is Divine and Conquer. Those are two movies.
Okay, because like I didn't hear a big enough pause there. I thought that was just like an extra long, like holy shit.
Yeah,
Title.
it is Brandon Basham's Slashing, The Final Beginning, and Mercedes, The
Okay.
Muses Divide and Conquer. As of 2021, he's still out there. He's still making movies. He is my goat.
All right. Well, I guess that'll do it on the Troma Cast. Join us next month, everyone. We got some good shit coming on. Well, you're about to hear about Peak.